Live from the Export Beer Garden Studios, this is the agenda for Wednesday, the 6th of March.
The Agenda, an alternative commentary collective podcast.
Last night, Lane, we had the inaugural Norma Trivia Night down at Norma Taps.
Yep, how'd it go?
Yep, went very well, very well. We actually ended up having a three-way tie in the finish.
I saw that. How did you settle it? How do you settle a tie? I see you got individuals from the teams up.
Yes, we got them to nominate a champion each, and the champion had to come up and play on behalf of their team. And we gave them a buzzer. Their own name was their buzzer. Very radio of us.
Yeah.
And then they had to guess, but all three of them got the first question wrong. It was a tough question. It was what year was Michael J. Fox born? So then we were like, you know what? Next question, closest to the pin.
Yeah.
And the question was, what's the running time of Gladiator in minutes?
Oh, Jesus.
So the answer was 155. The first person to guess said 154. And so the next person just went for the one more than you guessed approach.
Yeah.
And they got it. It was 155 straight away. So
I'd be gutted if I was the person who picked 154.
I know, because you did all the heavy lifting.
You should have made them do it anonymously, and slide the piece of paper over.
Yeah. But I reversed the order. Anyway, long and short of it was, they won. Great team name as well. Quizrail Answer Sanya.
That's quite good.
That was quite good. So we had a spot prize for best name. We had a spot prize for worst name. And then we had a spot prize for the worst team, which I decided from the outset it was going to be called the ACC's inaugural Dumb Cunt of the Week. Of course, it went to the Powerpuff Girls, 3 girls sitting down the back of the thing.
Classic own goal.
And I would like to issue an apology to them. It had nothing to do with you. Had I known you were going to win it, I probably would have named it something different. I actually think they stopped playing halfway through the quiz. They had 14 points halfway through the quiz and they finished on 16.
Well, why wouldn't you? Because at Norma Taps, they've got Negroni and Margarita on tap.
Yeah, I think Espresso Martini as well.
Yeah, so I think they were just prioritising, let's be honest.
So I just really wanted to issue an apology to them.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't pointed at you guys.
Big fans of the Agenda podcast, so I imagine the Powderpuff Girls.
Yeah, the Powerpuff Girls, they were. I'm sure they were. So I hope that this has reached them and they know that it had nothing to do with them. But a raging success, the inaugural, and looking forward to the next one. Should be bloody good next Tuesday. Let's get into some actual sport, Lane, and one of my favourite stories that's come out of rugby this week is before the Super Rugby Opiki season opener against the Chiefs Manaia, the Hurricanes Poua used an altered haka, which used the phrase "Kare tau o te kawana kakifero," or puppets of this redneck government. This is one of the funniest things.
So were they calling Chiefs Manaia puppets of this redneck government, doing the haka to them?
No, I don't think they were. I think they were talking about the politicians. I don't think this was aimed at their opponent.
But they did it before the game.
They did do it before the game.
Looking at their opponent.
Well, this is the thing. Then I'm
taking offence, Chiefs Mana. If they are calling the Chiefs Mana puppets of this redneck government, I'm coming for you.
And then the guys that were in charge of the Hurricanes came out and said, look, obviously we're disappointed. We don't stand beside this. This isn't right. They shouldn't have done it. Let's not forget, the purpose of a haka is to intimidate your opponent and basically tell them you're going to kill them.
Yeah.
So, saying that you don't really like the government.
It's kind of a weird line, though, to take when you're yelling at your opposition.
Yeah.
You're puppets of this redneck government.
They were like, no, I don't think they were calling the other team.
Well, what are they doing there? They're doing it down the camera.
No.
Who are they doing it to the public? The crowd.
I think they're talking to the politicians.
The commentators.
They're talking to the politicians.
Well, why don't they just go down to the Parliament and do it on the steps of Parliament?
Well, this is what I'm saying. Nobody's watching them there. Their point is they're using their platform to get their message out, and everyone's like, oh, no, they shouldn't have done it then. They should have done this. It's like, well, you tell me when to protest. You know what I mean? That's the whole point of a protest. I'm going to do it when you don't want me to, when everyone's watching.
They should have turned to the camera and done it instead of doing it to my poor Chiefs Manaia.
I think you've taken this personally.
I have, because I've directed it to my Chiefs Manaia, Chiefs Mana, and accused them of this. I don't care. I mean, look, it may have been a protest directed at the government, but I'm taking it to heart that they used Chiefs Mana to do it.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, the Chiefs won.
Suck that, Hurricanes.
But a few people came out and talked about it. The Right Honourable Winston Peters came out and said perhaps if they focused more on tackling and catching the ball instead of expending all their energy performing a haka, trying too hard to attack the government, they may not have been thrashed so badly. David Seymour said a similar thing.
So low, but so good.
Yeah, it's so petty.
It's so petty.
It's quite funny from them because David Seymour said the same thing. He's just like, I grew up a fan of the Hurricanes, so it's disappointing to see that they came bottom of the table last year and haven't won so far this year. It's like this is where we're at. It's just pettiness. It's poo-slinging from every end.
But obviously, yeah, this looks like another prime case for whitewash investigations to come in, and they'll just go. Because I see the CEO I've recommended they don't do that again.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, you tell them when they're allowed to protest. This is my whole thing about protest. People are always like, no, you shouldn't have done it then. It's like, okay, well, it's a protest. I'm going to do it when you don't want me to do it. That's the point.
I want an apology to the Chiefs Mana and Chiefs Manawa. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Forget the government.
Well, they should send it back. This is the whole point of a haka is laying down a challenge to each other. They should be slagging each other off. They should be going at each other. If they did direct it at the other team, the other team should fire it back.
Yeah, well, maybe they fire back a haka about how useless they are.
Yeah.
And how they finished bottom of the table last year, and perhaps they should try and win more games, catch the ball and score more tries.
Yeah, maybe Winnie P should come down and
write a haka for the Chiefs Manawa.
Perform a haka back to them. This is good. This is the kind of shit that I want from my sport. It's just a bit of poo-slinging. It's a bit of getting into each other. Get the government involved.
I'd rather they sling poo at each other, though, rather than some sort of government protest. But anyway.
No. Well, you let them know when they're allowed to protest and they can do it then.
I'm between 4 and 5 on Fridays. Okay. And I'm at the pub.
Sam Kerr, in a whitewash investigations classic,
yes,
has been charged over an alleged racially aggravated harassment of a police officer. She pleaded not guilty to the charge, which dates back to last year, January 30th, where it's alleged she used insulting, threatening or abusive words that caused alarm or distress to a Metropolitan Police officer who was responding to a complaint involving a taxi fare. Now, she is a football player, but this reeks of NRL, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. The fact that it's been swept under the carpet for 12 months. So Whitewash have obviously been involved early, and someone at Whitewash is going to get fired.
Yes.
Okay, because this has suddenly come out 12 months later, and the person who was in charge of sweeping this under the carpet at Whitewash has let it sneak out.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that their payment will be delayed or maybe even rescinded from the Chelsea Football Club, who hired Whitewash Investigations over this Sam Kerr incident.
Yeah.
So, I don't know,
It's disappointing from Whitewash because they're usually so good at it.
I know.
The one thing that they've done well is they've kept under wraps what it is that she's alleged to have said.
Yes, that's true.
Which obviously is still part of the investigation, but this is very rugby league. It's very Australian. I'm counting this as an NRL scandal.
Something must have happened. Obviously, a taxi fare. Obviously, something's gone on. She's jumped in a dodgy taxi after scoring a hat trick for Chelsea. It was the night that she scored a hat trick, and then obviously went out and had a few beers. I'm presuming because you don't really get into an altercation with a taxi driver
stone cold sober.
No. And then obviously the taxi driver's called the Metropolitan Police and
said she's not going to pay it.
She's obviously teed off on the police as well. And it's like, I guess that's always going to go one way. I haven't met a police officer who's gone, fair enough, I am see you next Tuesday. Thanks very much for that feedback.
Sorry, am I being a fuckwit?
Sorry.
I'll stop.
Oh, sorry. I haven't met many police officers like that, so I think that's where she may have come unstuck. Old Wayne.
Yeah, and a little Wayne, and a little disappointing from Whitewash Investigations.
Yeah, it is. I expected better from Whitewash.
I also wonder, the thing about Whitewash Investigations, who if you are just hearing about these guys for the first time, they are the investigation company that have been brought in for things like the Ranfurly Shield.
Yes.
For when the South African guy was accused of racist remark in the World Cup semi, and then he was cleared and he played in the grand final. Yeah,
I mean, their slogan is, we sweep most things under the carpet.
Yeah.
They've changed it to most after this.
Yeah. I reckon that because there hasn't been an off-field scandal from the Las Vegas NRL round, I reckon they've done some good work there. I reckon they've swept some stuff under the rug.
You reckon Whitewash? Yeah, true, actually. Look, imagine the retainer from the NRL to Whitewash. They're like, here is $10 million. It's all yours. Okay, but every incident that happens, we take $1 million away.
Yep.
If nothing gets reported, you keep the whole $10 million.
You just hold on to it.
Yeah, if there's 10 incidents, you get nothing.
Yep.
And Whitewash are gone, give us the money.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Remember Geordie Barrett eating the Maccas in Dunedin?
He got lost.
He got lost. He was sober at 5 a.m. eating Macca's in North Dunedin.
That was the most unbelievable. It just said I'd had a few drinks and was visiting friends. I mean, that would be and they got the wrong flat.
Just got the wrong flat,
Yeah.
man. How often does that happen? You know, you go and visit your friends stone cold sober, 5 a.m, get the wrong flat, go in anyway, sit down, eat your food. Brilliant. So great work. Some great work and some disappointing work from Whitewash Investigations. Time for a quick break and we'll be right back with more of the Agenda podcast. Lane, yesterday, and I think potentially the day before, we were talking about the indoor athletics champs. And the Netherlands, one of the athletes from the Netherlands broke the record for the 400 metres, but you'd be forgiven for thinking it was actually Mickey Mouse. Have a listen to this interview and tell me this is not Mickey Mouse.
How was that for you?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, it was such a strong race. We were all running so fast, multiple running in the 50, so I knew I had to go out fast. I had Lieke in front of me, so I wanted to be in front, and I could hear halfway she was behind me, so I was like, okay, this is good, now we keep going. And
what is going on there?
Well, this is...
Is she on the heli? Is that how she won?
It's one of the...
sucked a whole tank of helium and just blew around.
It's just one of the Dutch sprinters. She was running the 400 metres. She broke the national record, as I mentioned. I've never heard anything...
Can we just go to that again? Because you got the interviewer who's...
Yeah.
How was that for you?
oh, it was amazing. I mean,
Oh, it was amazing!
How was that for you?
oh, it was amazing. I mean, it was such a strong race. We were all running so fast. multiple
We
running in
were
the
all
50,
running
so
so
I knew I
fast.
had-
Anyway, okay, that's good. Minnie Mouse, though, not Mickey.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Apologies, I misgendered.
You kind of rodent misgendered.
I misgendered that rodent, but shout out to her for winning that 400 metres. Ross Taylor's been interviewed on a podcast, and he said that he thinks that Wags was forced into retirement. He says, I think it all makes sense a little bit now. There's no sugarcoating it. I think it's a forced retirement. If you listen to Wagner's press conference, he was retiring, but it was after the last test match against Australia, so he did make himself available. And then to see that he isn't selected, I think you do need to plan for the future. But a one-off test against Australia is a must-win situation. I wouldn't be looking much further than Neil Wagner. I'm sure the Australian batters are sleeping easy that he's not in the team. Do you think that he was forced into retirement?
I think it's pretty obvious because they said you will not be in the team in Wellington and we're releasing you for the second test. So basically, you're not going to play for New Zealand.
You're done. But why did they pick him for the first one, though? Why was he with the team?
I don't know whether they wanted to use that as his kind of farewell, which is a bit of a de-shrinker when you're carrying the drinks in your farewell test and maybe run onto the field and get a clap from the embankments.
Which is what happened.
Which is what happened, and maybe that was look, hey, that could have been the thinking, that they didn't want him just to disappear and let the crowd, let the public acknowledge him. But saying that, we now are struck by injuries.
Yeah.
We've got no Will O'Rourke.
No.
So there's nothing wrong with like swallowing your pride and saying, oh, shit, Will's injured. You know how he said we were going to release you. Well, can you come back?
Yeah.
Instead, we've got a debutant, Ben Sears, who's going to come in and everyone's, oh, he's got a bit of pace. I was like, the Australian team practice against Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood in the fucking nets.
Yeah.
They're okay with pace, okay?
Yeah,
Unless he's some sort of Richard Hadley hybrid bowling 150 where they'll start to crap themselves, they will not be shaking in their boots.
No. And this is one of those like opportunities to make a heroic, like when he did his back and blew his knee out and came back to the crease. There's an opportunity for New Zealand cricket to make a real heroic moment, because what if he won us the game?
We have nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
We have nothing to lose in Christchurch. Why not chuck him out? I mean, they've made their choice. This is classic New Zealand cricket. It's like with Trent Bolt.
Yeah.
You made their choice and they kind of stick to their guns until they don't.
It is very It is very New Zealand cricket. You're so right. It's like they've made a decision and they're like with the Trent Bolt situation, it's like, oh, it sets a dangerous precedent. And I've always said, no, it doesn't. The precedent is if you become the next Trent Bolt, then you can do the central contract thing. And unless you're that, then no, you can't do
There's
it.
no 18-year-old Trent Bolts who are for like going, I'm just going to play IPL.
Yeah,
you have to go through the system.
Yeah, that's right. And it's like, okay, you can go play IPL, but then you don't get to play for us. My thing on this was sort of, most athletes don't get to decide when they retire. In fact, I would say like 90-odd% get to decide. Ross Taylor was in the lucky situation where he sort of did.
Oh my God, the farewell tour.
The farewell tour and various formats of the game, and you're like, wait, didn't he retire? Oh no, he's still, but then he's going to play that. But hold on. But
there's a test match. There's a one day though as well. Oh,
yeah.
right.
But So I don't think it's that unfair. I guess it was just the whole way that it was done. I wonder if they said, oh, we're not going to play you in this first one to Wags, and he just went, I reckon you're not going to play me in the second one either. Fuckers, I'm out. I retire now. And they're like, okay, well, we'll release you for the second one. Do you think that's how it went down?
Potentially.
That was sort of my read on it.
Doesn't seem like that kind of thing he would do. Like, I don't think Waggers are kind of go, fuck yeah, I'm retiring then.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I think he would genuinely wants to play against Australia.
So then what a messy way to do it.
I know.
You know?
Well, especially with the injury of Willow Rourke. I understand if Willow Rourke was still fit, I'd be like, oh, fair enough. Like, they've released him, he can go. But he's injured, and we need a bowler.
Yeah.
We need a bowler who can maybe just put the shits up them a little bit, like Willow Rourke did.
Provide something a little different, perhaps.
So the poor pressure on Ben Sears. Imagine your first debut test is going to be against the World Test champions.
There's something about Ben Sears to me that suggests he's probably going to be fine. There's just there's just a little something about Ben Sears, you know?
think there's something a little cray-cray that he's going to channel there.
I've been watching a lot of Love on the Spectrum lately, and
Does he play on the spectrum?
I think he plays on the spectrum a little bit.
Well, that'd be good. Well, I've got a little bit more faith now, but
It's the Pukana in his delivery stride.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, he looks a little impervious. He's in his own world, Ben Sears.
Hey, how about we just roll in maybe, hey, Lockie, do you reckon you could bowl 5 overs on the trot every hour?
Yeah.
Lockie would go, probably.
Yeah, probably. And then just goes ride the boundary for a while.
Yeah. Hey, Trenty, could you bowl 4 or 5 overs an hour? Probably.
Yeah.
Want to play? Probably.
What are you up to next week? What are you up to this weekend? Nothing? Oh, do you want to come and play a test match? 'Cause we fucking need you. We could really do with it. Yeah.
Totally.
It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Knowing New Zealand cricket, they're going to stick to their guns. We're going to have a Cougar line, Ben Sears frontline bowling attack.
Oh, so you got Cougs, Sears, Matt Henry, Tim Southey. I don't think they'll play 4 seamers again. They made that mistake before. I think Satner will come in for probably maybe
even Sears. Maybe Sears doesn't get on.
Yeah, maybe it comes in for O'Rourke, and that we just have 3 pace with Cougar Line, Southey, and Henry. When you compare that to Cumdog Millionaire, Bill Ralston, and Pooh Bear, that is a terrifying mismatch. And then you got Megamind, Nathan Lyon versus Mitchell Satner.
Yeah,
it's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
Then bowling's usually our strength.
Yeah, that's right.
But, yeah,
we've misread our own pitches so many times this summer. It's been ridiculous.
Every one.
Every one of them. We've either elected to bowl when there was nothing there for us, or we've left Santner sitting on the bench when it was spinning and popping. And Steady did say, we misread that. We probably would have played Santner had we known. But it's like, okay, well...
Shouldn't we know?
You're the guy that's supposed to know.
Shouldn't we know? Where's the groundsman? What are they doing?
If it's not... Yeah.
Where's KJ up to? Where are the groundspeople going, ooh, hey, guys.
That's the whole game for cricket, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was what the home advantage is. Your groundsman comes in and goes, it looks green, but it's turning square and bouncing.
You don't shoot him a text the night before and go, Santner, ? And then, and then he just comes back, Santner, ! I can absolutely, if not Ajaz.
Is that allowed? I'm sure that's allowed. The home conditions, you can talk to the groundsman and say, what do you reckon it's doing?
I don't know whether it's officially allowed, but it's certainly happening in India.
Oh, yeah, totally. We want a dust bowl. Yeah. It's not bouncing. Yeah. Okay, no problem.
And that's exactly what they do. There's no surprises. No one gets caught off guard by what kind of pitch it was. I don't know. It's been interesting, but the first ball's bowled on Friday, 11 a.m. So I'm looking forward to that. I love the test matches.
I love the pace that you can just go in them and just wander through it.
Yeah, as a commentator.
Yeah. You can just wade through it.
It's a genuine adventure, a test match.
Yeah.
It's 5 days. There's all these sorts of twists and turns. Everything changes every day. You can check in and out as you're getting about your daily work. It's going to be good. It's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. Anyway, we're covering that whole thing on iHeartRadio. In the NFL, just quickly, Lane, there's been a redundancy. I don't know if you've ever been given the old redundo. Some people, it obviously can be tough for some people. For other people, it can come at the perfect time. Sometimes it can be a real hit of cash into the vein just when you need it. That has happened to Russell Wilson on Tuesday, US time, the Denver Broncos quarterback. Just 18 months after signing a 5-year, $397 million contract extension.
And that's US.
That's US.
So half a billion.
$500 million. They are releasing him out of his contract. They are going to pay him $64 million for 2024 to do nothing, to sit on the bench. So he's allowed to sign with another team, and the other team can pay him whatever, and whatever the other team pays him, the Broncos don't have to pay him. But whatever happens, he gets paid $64 million. If you're another team, you're just going to pay him the minimum, aren't you? Because why would you pay any more than that? So some team is going to get this guy at a veteran minimum. But how good would it be to get 64 mil to just do nothing?
Oh my God! What would you do?
64 mil. I am parking up. Well, to be honest, you're not seeing me for about 3 years, probably.
Do you have to hang around with the club still? Do you have to turn up and go? Hey?
No. That's what they said. You're gone. Go do whatever you want. Sit at home. Go wherever. Sign with whoever. Would you sign with another team?
I don't reckon you would.
I don't think you would either.
I don't know. It depends how heavily leveraged he is, old Russell Wilson.
Well, his wife is Sierra, who's a singer, R&B singer over there in the States. So she's also rich. So he doesn't need the money.
Yeah.
To me, him going back to play NFL would be like if you're a gold miner your whole life, you find a giant nugget of gold in the river or on the ground, whatever, you've hit it. And then the next day, you're back in the fucking river mining again. It's like, no, you just hit it. You just hit $64 million is generational wealth.
But he'll talk about how he loves the game, all that kind of crap. It's in his veins, it's in his blood.
Bin it, Russ, you don't need it.
Yeah, well, he's not us though, is he? Because with 64 million, you wouldn't. I don't reckon you'd see me for a decade.
No.
I'd come back a shadow of a man with no money.
Yes.
But I would have had a great time.
Would have some stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be able to do another podcast series of stories.
Would have some stories to tell on a podcast. You have some stories to tell listening at home, and we will get to those after this quick break.
Yours Please, brought to you by Leader, home of the lasagna topper.
Thank you to Leader, home of the lasagna topper. They are a delicious, delicious snack, particularly if you've got 15 ravenous kids around at your place. That's your go-to move, isn't it?
Yeah, I must admit the Southern Fried Chicken toppers were a huge hit with a dozen 11-year-olds that came over. And they're like, we're hungry. And I was like, woof. And they were like, oh my God, it's like deep fried KFC wrapped up. Yeah.
It is fucking delicious, so go and try them when you can. And when you can send us a message, we like to play them out where possible. This is the feature called Yours Please. Caller, Yours Please.
Gents, g'day from Perth. Suggestion on Super Rugby Super Round. Move it to Queenstown.
Oh,
simple.
Oh, that is probably one of the most pertinent Yours Pleases ever. Simple. Says I'm from Perth. Do it in Queenstown.
I'd go to Queenstown.
Aussies would go to Queenstown. Aussies already go to Queenstown. There's like about 10 flights a day coming from Australia, from Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne.
Yeah.
Why didn't we think of that?
Why didn't we think of that? Because remember when we were coming out of lockdown, we're sort of in lockdown, but kind of out of lockdown. Sports were doing the bubbles.
Yeah.
Super Rugby went down to Queenstown and did the bubble down there. And it looked incredible.
Well, they'd have to build something a bit better.
Yeah, but then, I don't know, build it.
Yeah, well, look, I'm all for it. Just like build a 10,000-seat stadium there and sell it out for 3 days.
Yes. Who wouldn't go to that?
And what players would not want to go?
It's a no-brainer. That was a 7-second long message, and I think it's just revolutionised Super Rugby.
Do it.
Brilliant. I've got a couple more here. Caller, Yours Please.
Hey fellas, just letting us know that I've started listening to your agenda on Spotify, and you can set the speed at 0.7 to 0.8 seconds, and it sounds like you're about a box of Export Ultras deep. So, yeah. Enjoy. Love you, babes. Bye.
Different strokes for different folks, I guess. If you want to listen to us, like we sound like we're a bit wasted.
Yeah. I mean, if you want, once a week, we could just drink a box of Export Ultras and then do the podcast. Save you the hassle. If that's what you need us to do to save you the hassle.
The speed thing's interesting, isn't it? Because Joe Jury, who looks after pretty much everything here at the ACC, he listens. He's an ice hockey nutbag. Loves ice hockey.
And ice hockey tragic.
Yeah, and he listens to all the ice hockey podcasts in 1.5 speed, and I can't deal with it.
Neither.
Like, I'd come into the office and he would have it like on a speaker or something, and he'd be like, I'd be like, what the fuck are you listening to? And he goes, I get through them twice as quick. Like, well, not twice as quick, just under that. And I'm like,
1.75 times.
But I don't know, how can you keep up? And it's like, no, it's great. I can get through so many more podcasts. I'm like, you're a sicko.
He can listen to 40 hours worth of ice hockey content across a week.
All I can hear is,
it's when you get into the car with him and his phones connected to the stereo. It happened last night. We got into the ACC and it's just
Like, what is that?
like that sounds suspiciously like a 1.75 speed ice hockey podcast. Don't turn your Bluetooth off. One more, yours please. Caller, yours please.
G'day lads, Troy here from the Tron. Hey, just weighing in on your conversation on the podcast about the draft system in rugby. If they're worried about other players playing in other countries and stuff like that, then they could almost follow the system of, say, IPL or something like that, where those guys will go and play over in the IPL and the Big Bash and things like that, and then still play for their own country. So that's my thoughts on it anyway. Have a good one.
Yeah, sensible. Very sensible.
It is.
Troy from the Tron.
And a few different versions of this have been, sort of bandied about. Steve Hansen was on the chair of one of these tournaments that they were trying to fire up. I guess the difference is the money, as I think New Zealand cricket would ideally not have our players playing over in the IPL. They just can't compete with it.
They also get a cut of what they get paid.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
So if you're a central contract player, you get a...
You get a cut.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So they've got fingers in the pie.
And I think that's the difference. And what the New Zealand Rugby Union's always tried to do is, because we can no longer compete with the money overseas, it's like if you want to play for the All Blacks, that's the last carrot that we have to dangle.
Yes.
You can't do it if you go and play over there. So I think what would happen is if you allowed people to go and basically if you allowed selection from Europe, from Japan, then you would have none of our best players playing here.
Maybe it's baby steps, because we talked about it the other day, is maybe it's just limited to the Super Rugby Pacific.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can go and play in Australia and still be eligible. And
Designated franchises.
yeah, totally.
If you play for one of these registered franchises, you're eligible for the All Blacks.
But if you piss off to Wales or Ireland or whatever and play in the Guinness League or whatever how they call it, Heineken Cup, then no, maybe that's a step too far. But the draft system, I know we've banged on about it, and I'm still trying to get my head around it, would be a fundamental shift for rugby and for rugby fans to get their head around.
I think the biggest barrier is a draft system depends on a feeder league, and that's why the US system works so well, because they've got college.
Yeah.
But NPC isn't quite that for us. You know what I mean? That's not really how NPC works.
Yeah, and we can't really turn schoolboy rugby into that, because that would be a total disaster.
Exactly. So that's the biggest barrier.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, do we change the NPC system to a feeder system? Do we change club rugby to the feeder system? So get rid of NPC, pile all that money into super clubs. So each city has a super club. So you'd have Ponsonby, North Shore, Takapuna, and University, just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
In Hamilton, you'd have Fraser Tech, Old Boys,
Yeah.
I don't know, Hautapu or whatever.
Yep.
And maybe you have these...
Kike Valley Demons. And
maybe you have 3 or 4
Eels.
super clubs in each city that then feed into a super club competition that then feeds into Super Rugby.
And maybe your region gets, say, first dibs on a player, but they can, there could be some sort of ramification in that. You know what I mean? Like, it's easier to sign. You could pay a player that came through your grade more than another club could.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's various different ways that you could do it. And I think that would inject a lot more life into the game. But anyway.
There's too many. What we're trying to say is there's too many kind of leagues. It's too confusing.
It is very confusing.
Yeah.
Speaking of confusing, let's get into a half-baked sports idea.
Half-baked sports idea.
Last week, Lane, in the midst of an impromptu Thursday night blowout, I wound up at a bar that had band karaoke.
I've seen this before, yeah.
So you get up and there's a band, they've got a list of all the songs they know how to play.
Yeah.
And if you know how to sing one of the songs, you can get up there and do it.
Yep.
It was so much fun. A lot of people absolutely nailed it. A couple of people bombed, which is just as entertaining.
That's what karaoke is about.
That is what karaoke is.
I don't go to karaoke to watch a future star being born. I go there to watch people fail.
Yes. To watch people think that they're about to absolutely crush it and then bomb. But I got up and did it.
Angels?
Yep, of course. And but for 3 minutes and 13 seconds, I felt like Robbie Williams, because there was a band there. When I finished singing the second verse, the guitarist stepped out to the front and shredded a guitar solo. It was awesome. I felt like Robbie Williams for 3 minutes, and I was like, people would pay to have that service, People would pay to go to a karaoke bar like that. Why not bring that to sports? So my idea is sports karaoke. So you set up the same thing, a similar thing,
Yeah.
to recreate sporting moments. So, for example, you have actors in Italian rugby jerseys, and you're John Kerr, and you get to run from one end of the field, slicing through them all, and then score down the other end. You could have an actor set up as old Mike Catt, and you're Jonah, and you stumble towards the line and bang over the top while someone commentates over the top of it. Or you could rewrite history. So, for example, the George Gregan 4 more years thing, instead of that ruck collapsing, you just go over and score, and then you get to tell George Gregan 4 more years.
Well, VR. I'm going to just throw out VR to you, because I was thinking you'd have to hire at Eden Park every time you wanted to recreate and the actors are quite expensive. But if you had some sort of VR where you were John Kerr and you took the kick off, and you'd have to be in some sort of harness or something that you run, like on bungee cords.
Yeah.
And then I think VR, it's a great, I love it, because I'd even love to just be in the gully position at the basin when Brendan McCullum back cut that delivery, and everything's set, the crowd, everything, you hear the commentary, and I'm in gully, and he cuts it, and goes there, and then Ian Smith's a cricketing master, he's a little cricketing master, and I'm there just going, just at gully. Yeah, just witnessing history, being a part of it. Yeah, and VR. And then afterwards you can do some heaps of VR porn.
See, you're waging into a different idea than what I had. But I was thinking, maybe I get some sort of ball that's all grippy and shit, and I bowl ball of the century at Mike Gatting, and it just whips back, or all that kind of thing. Live out your greatest sporting memories as if you did it.
Yeah, I think...
Just for that one moment.
Yeah, it's got a lot of legs. It's just I think you're going to have to turn it into a virtual reality.
I don't know. I know you've been to countries where they have a form of slavery still,
That's true.
Surely, you can have some sort of...
Are you telling me we should go to the Middle East and dress up a bunch of labourers in Italian shirts and just run over them in an All Blacks jersey pretending you're John Kerr?
I'm saying I'd pay for that service. I'm saying I'd pay for that service.
For me, it loses its shine a little bit when you're steamrolling a 40 kg Bangladeshi labourer.
Yeah, fair. What about a fundraiser for a local rugby club? So they need the money, and you can pay as a fundraiser for them. They'll put their Italian jerseys on,
and they have to fall off you.
They have to fall off you. Yeah,
right.
They've got to hit me hard enough that I feel like I'm beating the tackle.
I still think. I imagine myself in the middle of, Western Springs, and there's no crowd, and there's just 15 dudes in Italian shirts, and me running through them and diving over the line, and not getting and looking around for the reaction, and just hearing the motorway hum past. Whereas I think in a full immersion VR, you'll get the whistle blow, the crowd cheering, your teammates will come around, you're like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
You're right. We'd need to raise some pretty serious capital to make it believable.
Yes.
Because, for example, if someone wanted to feel what it was like in the fog final between Wellington and the Crusaders, when we just fog cannon the whole park. You got to stand out the front of there. You could probably do the same thing by wrapping your head in Glad wrap, to be fair.
Yeah, that's right.
Obviously, the logistics are going to be a shit show. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the idea. And I think the idea is brilliant. Tell me.
It's got legs.
Tell me you wouldn't pay to recreate your favourite sporting memory.
It's certainly half-baked.
All right, let us know what you think of that on the old talkback function. We'll knock it on the head for a Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow for a Thursday edition of the Agenda podcast.
You've been listening to the ACC's Agenda podcast. For more episodes, subscribe on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.